Hey everybody, St. Paul here, and welcome to episode 37 of Music on the Run. Why do I look so professional and so good right now, you might be asking yourself? Well, first of all, I've got a little help. Tanner Montague is back here manning the camera, making the old buck look somewhat good as best he can. We just did an interview for the morning show in Australia, and it was so much fun. But I want to talk about my next guest. He is a legend all over the world. He's the musical director and founder of the Sounds of Blackness. Gary Hines is next on Music on the Run. Hey everybody, St. Paul here. Welcome to episode 37 of Music on the Run. Glad you're here. Today's a heavy day, so let me put this in context for you. We're taping this on April 21st, 2021, the 5th anniversary of the passing of Prince. And those of you who know me know I worked with him. It's also the day after the conviction of former officer Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd that happened in my hometown and my guest's hometown as well. And we're going to address that today. My guest today has conducted countless music workshops, seminars, lectures, masterclasses across the United States and internationally about the history, impact, and evolution of African American music and culture. He's recorded with just about everybody. Stevie, Michael, Quincy, Prince, to name a few. And he is the musical director and producer of the 3-time Grammy Award-winning Sounds of Blackness. Please welcome my friend, Gary Hines. Welcome, my friend.
Welcome, my brother. How you doing, Maestro?
Man, I know you always call me Maestro. Every time we have an interaction, that's what you call me. I have so much respect for you, man. I just so appreciate you coming on, especially surrounding this day and all its meaning.
Yeah. My honor, and thank you.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it. You know, I want to ask you how you're feeling today after the conviction of Derek Chauvin.
It's really a potpourri of emotions, Maestro. There's gratitude and appreciation for some semblance of justice finally happening, because, you know, what happened to Brother Floyd has happened to my people in one form or another for the past 4 centuries. Will Smith, I love the quote that he put on. He said, racism isn't increasing, it's just being filmed. So these kind of things have happened literally, my brothers, I know you know, for centuries in one form or another, and now we're able to capture them, you know, on our devices and that kind of thing. And sometimes that's not even enough. So yes, there's obviously appreciation of justice, you know, in this verdict, but a long way to go. Not only still with this case with the other 3 officers, but then most recently with Brother Dante Wright. I mean, it just goes on and on. So it's about changing the system that's inherent, since, you know, the slave experience inherent with bias. So we really got to get, this is, I think, a door, brother, to open the door to really deal with the root of this thing rather than taking aspirin for a tumor.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't begin to comprehend the inequality the African American and people of color have experienced and continue to experience on a daily level. Sometimes I'm blinded by it simply because I'm not black or a person of color. And this is no excuse, we miss it because it's not happening to us. So how can white folks become advocates? What can you tell us that would help us to help our community and our brothers and sisters of color? How can we
bless you? And thank you for the spirit and the sincerity and the integrity of that question, my brother. And you know what? I've been asked that a lot, especially by a lot of my Caucasian brothers and sisters. And I've got a real tangible answer because people have been legitimately asking and sincerely asking, what tangibly can I do? A lot of times people will say, refer them to programs or give them kind of a generic answer that's well-intentioned, but it's nothing specific to do. I think I've got something specific to do that's going to be unconventional, but very simple and not cost a dime. And my answer to that question is to become a student of history. Okay. And now that might be, your immediate reaction of your followers and listeners and viewers might be, well, what in the world does that have to do with this? And how is that relevant? And I'm just, if I may, I just expand on an answer, explain why I say it. So, Maestro, one thing I've learned is that history equals humanity. There's a reason that we still have African-American history every month. And that because in 2021, the contributions of African-American people, of women, of other ethnicities of color are still not included in our curriculum throughout across the country. And not only does that create for an imbalance, but it's beyond the legitimacy of just historical accuracy. What I say is this, and if your followers and listeners today don't remember anything else I say, please remember this. History equals humanity. And it just makes sense. If I don't know or you don't know the history, the contributions of my people to your life, to this country, to this world, it's just a recipe for seeing me as less than, even unconsciously, subconsciously, because and it's not because of you're or who anyone is a bad or evil person. It's because they don't know, and they don't know because they haven't been taught. That's where becoming a student of history comes in, right? I mean, learning and really exploring the history of African-American people and going back to the African continent, because one thing I have to reiterate it, and so many of the well-intentioned African-American history programs begin with the slave experience. It's like, no, that's the first mistake. My ancestors are from glorious kingdoms in Africa that we've never heard of. People use the term from here to Timbuktu. They don't know that Timbuktu in Africa was the world's first university system before the Greeks. The Greeks went to University of Timbuktu. When we think of Africa and we think of Tarzan and natives running around and uncivilized. Africa, Egypt is the cradle of civilization, the birthplace of humanity, the richest king of all time. Probably most of your people never heard of, your listeners, Mansa Musa of the Kingdom of Mali. They couldn't even calculate his wealth, Maestro. And in fact, by nowadays they can, and his wealth for the Kingdom of Mali, and this is centuries ago, is calculated at $400 billion with a B. It make Bill Gates, our friend, look like he's on welfare. But we don't know that because we haven't. And again, you're not a bad person if you don't know that. You haven't been taught that. So that's a long way of saying how important it is to become a student of history and know the contributions of African-American people specifically, since that's what we're focusing on right now, to the contributions of American history, to world history and culture. And no matter anything, and until that happens, my brother, we can't, no matter how well-intentioned, we can't see each other as equals because we don't know of the contributions.
Whoa. How beautifully and eloquently spoken was that?
Oh,
it's true. Well, here's an issue, and I'm sure you know this, and it's bias, and the bias is, what are they putting in the history books for us when we were coming up? Because right. I have news for you. None of that was in my history book.
Exactly.
Whether that's by design, which it probably was.
Yes.
Whatever the case may be, we aren't taught that. So we need to start at that level and go, we need to get that happening and get that in the history book so we are knowledgeable and we can learn about these absolutely incredibly important contributions of people of color. And you're right, man. Until that happens, our children and our children's children will not understand. And I think we have an opportunity, in my opinion, that change is coming. That song that you have, hold on, change is coming.
Yeah.
Is this the change we've been waiting for, Gary?
Yes. And to address something you just touched on, my brother, in terms of still not learning it today in the curriculum, I don't believe in most instances nowadays that is deliberate, but it's a vestige from a time of a legacy when it was deliberate. Because part of the justification of enslavement of people of African descent and treating them and designating them, the Constitution of the United States designated and identified and defined African Americans as 3/5 human. That's what institutionalizing that is. And so those who knew better at the time deliberately kept our history out of, and it was, in fact, what was purported was we had no history. We had no background. Africa was just wild jungle. There was nothing. So these people, they had no background, and therefore they're worthy of enslavement. So of course people don't feel that. Well, most of us don't feel that way nowadays. But from when it was deliberate, it's continued to now, and where it's not deliberate, but it's still continuing, where it's not in the books. And so now any and every volume you want online, at libraries, the most underutilized resource in our community, white, black, everybody, is the public library. Membership costs $1, for a year, kind of for a library card. So it literally doesn't cost a dime, to just undertake that in your spare time, or not even to the library, although the library is a good thing. I support them. Go online, just research, and you'll enjoy it. It's not something painful. And it's something that is will illuminate your life. And again, history equals humanity. So it's so important, simple, and won't cost you anything.
My mom used to have a saying. She said, and this is going back to when I was a kid, and I know you know my mom.
Yeah.
She used to say, "I'm sick and tired of waking up tired and sick." And she used to say that to us.
Yeah.
You have a song that you put out last year called Sick and Tired. Will you please tell us about that song?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the derivative of what and talk about Maestro. I mean, you're a phenomenal mom. My God. And
you're a phenomenal mom.
Yeah, both, we have that's a whole segment by itself, as
yes,
you know.
Sir, it is.
But what and just adored her, man, and you and her are always in my daily prayers, man. But like I say, I'm trying not to digress, but that's,
no, you can. It's just you and me here.
Right.
It is.
But, yeah. But I think you're wonderful, a beautiful, phenomenally talented mom. The derivative of that is what a lot of people say nowadays. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And those words originated from the late, great Fannie Lou Hamer. She was, for those who don't know, again, if you don't know, you don't know. It's cool. We just share that information. Fannie Lou Hamer was a great civil rights and women's rights activist out of Mississippi. She, Maestro, on foot in backwoods Mississippi, by herself, registered thousands of people to vote. Out in the night on the back roads, beaten, sexually assaulted by the Ku Klux Klan and the police, sometimes who were one in the same, at the time. But she remained undaunted, and she addressed the Democratic National Convention in 1964. And in that speech, she said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." And she was talking about police brutality and injustice. And systemic racism, the same things we're still talking about today. And so that tells us that we have to get to the root. There've been so many well-meaning programs, but until we get to the root and know each other's history, it's going to go on. I was saying another 50-year milestone has come up. And I bet, without even asking, and I'm not really a betting man, but I bet this is one of your favorites as it is mine. The late, great Marvin Gaye album, What's Going On? And his other classic on the Inner City Blues. That was 1971, Maestro. And one of my favorite lyrics that on Inner City Blues, he wrote and sang and recorded 50 years ago. It says, "Crime is increasing, trigger happy policing." So 50 years ago, Marvin was talking about, and speaking of artists ahead of his time and aware, just kind of a little bit of a side note. I love Al Gore and so many things about him, and especially his emphasis on the ecology. But 50 years ago, Marvin Gaye sang Mercy, Mercy Me, Mercy the Ecology, Fish Full of Mercury, Radiation Underground in 1971. And so those artists, just ahead of their time, and we're heirs to that legacy. But getting back to Fannie Lou Hamer, she and we were blessed to reach out to her only remaining relative, her daughter, Cookie Jacqueline Hamer, down in Mississippi. And they, gave us the rights to use the phrase and all that. And we're donating a portion of any of single sales to the Fannie Lou Hamer Foundation and to the George Floyd Scholarship Foundation. So you know us, we don't just talk about it. We like to be about it. But that's my last piece. I know it's a long answer to your question, brother, but this is really relevant too, especially for everybody, but especially any of my white brothers and sisters that are following this program. And I hope you do support the maestro because he deserves it. To finish the answer about how that song came about, the first night after Brother Floyd was killed, which it happened 5 blocks from where we rehearsed, maestro, where Sounds of Blackness rehearsed at Sabathani Community Center on 38th and 3rd. And, you go to 3rd, 2nd, and then Chicago. Yeah. And so we normally rehearse vocal rehearsals on Tuesday evenings. Of course, I canceled that rehearsal. We all went to the rally, which was just a few blocks down. I'll never forget, there were thousands of people there. I mean, if not tens of thousands of people, white, black, young women, men, everybody. And this teenage Caucasian young lady, she was carrying a Black Lives Matter sign, and she was so proud, and she recognized me from the group, and she came up. She said, "Hey, Mr. Sounds of Blackness, you guys are one of my favorite groups." And I'll never forget what the next thing she said, maestro. She said, "I bet you guys are going to do a song about this, but do me a favor, please don't make it a happy song." And I said, "You know what, young lady, I'm going to look you in the eye and promise you that it will not be that." And right at that moment, I'm telling you, brother, Fannie Lou Hamer's words started ruminating in my feeble brain, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Wow.
Yeah, true story.
That all started right at that night.
Yep. I was up that night. The muse wouldn't leave me alone. I know you've been there. I know
yes, of course.
Wouldn't let me sleep. And in fact, we're putting some final vocals on it this coming Friday. Yeah.
Your music.
Oh, no, not on Sick and Tired. I'm sorry. Our new song, Reparations. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you got it. Well,
we'll talk about that whenever you're ready. But yeah.
Okay, we'll get back to that, but don't let me forget about that.
Yeah.
As I've been researching you, and of course I've known you and so many members of the Sounds of Blackness for my entire life. Your message through your music is positivity, is educational. Was this a departure on purpose to raise awareness of the inequality and the horrible murder of George? Would you say that?
I would say yes. I would say a qualified yes, maestro. And the reason I say a qualified yes is because overall, and the short answer would be yes. And it's really funny because even at Black radio, we got a lot of resistance with the song to them. Some of them played it or just kind of spotty airplay. Because they didn't want to offend sponsors and all that kind of thing.
Wow.
Even though they love the group. And actually, they love the track. You and I know it's one thing. You put out a song, and they may like it, they may not like it. But we were hearing across the country programmers telling us, "Oh, man, the track is banging. We love it. It's right today. But we're concerned about putting it in rotation because we don't want to offend, our sponsors or anyone kind of thing." And so
politics
they were
involved.
Politics, brother. And they were looking for Sounds of Blackness, and I get it. And they told us as much. They said we were looking for like another optimistic, or everybody hold hands and let's come together. Obviously, we're ultimately about that,
Yes.
But even the Bible tells us there's a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. That we really finally had to look this thing smack in the face and really try to deal with it firsthand. And so we came harder than we normally do with Sick and Tired. And we're coming normally harder than we normally do with this next single called Time for Reparations as well.
Fascinating. And good for you, man. And it's funny that the politics have to get involved.
Yeah.
But That's just the way the music business can be.
And you know who the primary inspiration for that was? And how ironic that this is the 5th anniversary. It was Prince. Prince, who, you know, I was blessed to know, as I know you knew and worked with and all that for years and years. Blessed to know and be friends and brothers really for 40 years easily.
Right.
He would call, and I bet he did this with you as well. He would call 2 or 3 in the morning, you know, like it was middle of the day, you know. And one of our last conversations, I'll never forget, he had just done the song Baltimore. So people, and it's come up in other interviews, you know, what do you think Prince would have done? It's like, believe me, he would have been out on 38th in Chicago, I guarantee you. There's no way he would have went to Baltimore and written that song and something like this happened in Minneapolis and he wasn't involved. So I'm clear about that. But one of the things in one of our last conversations, he took me to task. He said, and you know how he would frequently call you by your full name, you know, even though he's known you forever. It's like, Gary Hines. There's something I'm going to tell you, Gary Hines. And yes, I called him Maestro often too. And I said, what's that, Maestro? And he said, well, Gary Hines, Sounds of Blackness, you know, really needs to be about the Blackness, really uplift our youth, especially, and tell the message a little bit stronger even. You know, you guys are sometimes, not hard enough with the message, Gary Hines, kind of. And so I'll never forget that. Yeah. So that's why we wound up dedicating our song Royalty, which is about 4 years old now, to him, because he was part of, now Royalty wasn't as hard, but it was a statement. You know, we got a message from above. You ain't no thug, you're royalty. So that was directed at our youth. And that was really Prince inspired. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Not only are you an incredible band, but you also are an educator. You go throughout the world talking about the history and the impact and the evolution of the African-American music and culture. I'm fascinated by that because I think that it must be part of your calling as well, or equally. Would you say that?
Yeah. I think so. Great questions too, by the way, Maestro. I would like to think yes. You know, we use the word sometimes edutainment, you know.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and I know you're hip kind of thing. And so, and you know what? It's always I always wind up feeling like I'm receiving more than I may be giving, because it's energizing to me to be able to rotate within what you and I do. So as much as I love, you know, piano is my wife, I'd say it, as much as I love to play, and then performing and all the kind of things and the rigors of rehearsal, and we enjoy that, but you know, you can get burnt out. So now it's time to do something different. Now you're doing a lecture or an interview or a music workshop, and you're in the element, but in a different sphere kind of thing. And then it energizes you, you know, for the next time you come back around just to the hardcore music. So I really do enjoy it, and it's an honor and a blessing.
I need to sit in one of these seminars sometime. I would love that.
You know, in fact, I will invite you. I just got an invite, and it's funny because we all know about, you know, an artist in their own land and that whole quoting kind of thing, or being unappreciated. Because I've actually historically done more workshops overseas, you know, Japan, Europe, and out of state than I have right here in Minneapolis kind of thing. But I did get a call to do an extended one for St. Paul Public School, middle schools, and that will be that's going to be Bloomington. It's going to be held in Bloomington. And that will be June 20th through July 20th. And I believe it's open kind of thing. I know I'm working with like middle schoolers kind of thing, but I think it's open to the community. So I'll as I get more information, man, it'd be great to have you come sit in, you know.
I'm there. If you need me, I'm there.
I know that about you.
I would love to be involved. I'd like to be a mouse in the corner learning though, but if you need me involved, I'm there. Gary, when I was looking at your website, I see a phrase appear many, many different times, and it's, "We give thanks and praise to God for all things and everyone." What does that phrase mean?
Yes. Well, you know, none of this, none of us, none of these things are possible without God. You know, a lot of times people ask, 50 years, my goodness, how are you guys, able to do what you do, or how was I able to do? And, first of all, I say these three things: only by the grace of God, by the dedication of great singers and musicians. Yeah, a lot of times our band doesn't get the love that it should, but I'm trying to rectify that. And the third component is you, brother, and that is, there's a scripture that says, "How will they hear without a preacher?" Well, when it comes to music, how will people hear without an interview, without a DJ, without a blog, without a whatever it may be? And so those three components, first and foremost, by the grace of God, the dedication of Sounds of Blackness members, the support of people who play the music and support us, like yourself, kind of thing. And we love supporting you mutually as well, you and Patty and all your mega talented family, kind of thing. But so to me, those are clearly the three elements, but first and foremost, only by the grace of God. And we give thanks, for all of those things, for everything we do.
My family has loved you and the Sounds of Blackness for a long time. We've enjoyed your longevity. What do you think is the secret sauce that has made this band last for 50, Gary, 50 years?
I know. There's the old spiritual that I know, my soul looks back and wonders, how I got over it. And it's like, really, has it been 50 years since the McAllister days? So shout out to McAllister College, our alma mater.
Yes, McAllister
But I would say
College.
the same three elements, but at the risk of repetition. Yeah. I'm a proud Mac alum, and we still enjoy a working relationship with the college, as a matter of fact. And
Right.
we'll be doing some things there, in commemoration of this 50th. But I think, again, our longevity, I know, only by the grace of God and the dedication of the members. And now I would add one other component: the support of the, I was going to say the Twin Cities, but the whole Minnesota community, because we've done a lot and continue to do a lot throughout the state of Minnesota. Beyond the metro, the Twin Cities metro, many times, and the support, the love, the prayers, the enthusiasm, the donations. We're actually a nonprofit corporation. We have been since 1975. People have donated and helped to sustain us. So in so many ways, young, old, black, white, Latino, Asian, Native, everybody, people of all different faith traditions have supported Sounds of Blackness, spiritually, culturally, and financially. And we appreciate that more than we could ever say.
Let me tell you something, and this is coming from me, but I think I speak on behalf of not only my family, but all of Minnesota, saying that we depend on you.
Wow.
We lean on you.
Wow.
We look to you for comfort, for word, for your spirituality, for your leadership, for your straight talk, and always being real, and to help us get through things like we're going through this last year here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we ain't out of the woods. I know that. You know that. But I just want to publicly say thank you for us being able to lean on you. It's nice to be able to turn to someone like you and go, help. And you've been that person that we can turn to, that band, that rock. So we really do appreciate you, man.
It's an honor beyond words, man. And one of my other dear friends and brothers, former Governor Jesse Ventura, and he and I, we go back to the 70s.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Right. Him and his wonderful wife, Terry, who I consider him my brother. I consider her my sister. But when 9/11 happened, and they had the out on the lawn of the Capitol, the big 9/11 memorial. I mean, people of all races, you name it, people of all backgrounds were there. And the first group he called, and I got one of those in that voice, Gary, I want the Sounds of Blackness to sing the national anthem and to be, to support. And so we were there, and it was, so in terms of that leaning on, we just see that we don't see that ever as a challenge or a burden, Maestro. That's a blessing, that people to be able to do that. That's, I'm sure, part of our purpose.
Oh, for sure. It doesn't come out. It doesn't seem like it weighs on you. It seems like it invigorates you.
Yes, exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, so let's go back a little ways. Talk
Yeah.
about the early days of the Sounds of Blackness.
Oh, okay, gladly. In 1969, the college, Macalester College, Maestro, embarked on a very ambitious program to conscientiously recruit students of color onto campus called EEO, and it still exists. EEO stands for Expanded Educational Opportunities. And they were very successful with it. And one time on a campus of about 2,000, there were almost 200 students of color that hadn't been there before, primarily African-American, but actually of many different ethnicities and nationalities. And one of the outgrowths of that was that the students themselves organized a number of different activities. There was a theater group called Black Arts Midwest. There was a political group, which still exists, called BLAC, the Black Liberation Affairs Committee. And there was this 50-voice choir called the Macalester College Black Voices under the direction of our emeritus founder, Brother Russell Knighton. He's a native of Beaumont, Texas. And I saw him just the other day, unfortunately at a funeral, but at least it was a good chance to see him. Mm-hmm. But in 1971, my sophomore year, in fact, it was January of 71, Russell asked me to come on as director for what was then the Macalester Black Voices. And I was really honored and flattered because they were excellent back then, primarily singing, freedom songs, some gospel, it was the early 70s. So, it was about all different types of awareness kind of thing, whether it was, the Black Power movement or women's movement or the ecology or Vietnam, all those things. In fact, in that day, whoever you were, young, old, black, white, male, female, it wasn't a question of whether or not you're involved in the movement. The only question was which part of the movement are you involved in, or more than one. So that was the backdrop for what we became Sounds of Blackness. And the final part of the answer to your question is how we made the leap from Macalester Black Voices to the Sounds of Blackness. Well, for when I came on, the vision God gave me with this wonderful ensemble was to continue the tradition of the great Duke Ellington. Now that frequently surprises a lot of people. I'm going to say something that I know you know, but many of your listeners or followers may not. We hear Duke's name, and of course we think of jazz, and we should. But too many people don't know that Duke wrote, recorded, and performed spirituals, blues, anthem, gospel, every sound of blackness. He did the music of the culture, primarily jazz, yes, but not exclusively by any means. In fact, as I know, he did 4 sacred works with extent, Come Sunday, titles like, And David Danced Before the Lord with All His Might. Volumes of the spirituals and gospel and anthems and hymns and some blues. And so we can't take credit for the template of embodying the music of a culture and of a people. Duke Ellington laid that template. And we just followed in that path, and we needed a name that would reflect the fact that we were going to be performing every sound of the Black experience. So hence the name and the reason for the name Sounds of Blackness.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah.
50 years, my
yes,
dear
sir.
friend. Lots of ups and downs, lots of wonderful opportunities, lots of people coming and going, I'm sure.
Yes.
And you are the one who has to keep it all together. Is that a lot of pressure on you?
It is, but as I know you've heard said, and it's so true, God doesn't give us any more than we can handle kind of thing. Even though it sure kind of feels that way sometimes, but he doesn't. And yes, in terms of the coming and going, I'll say 2 things quickly about that. A number of our current members, Maestro, are actually offspring of our original members. So like, I know, how about it? And so we kind of refer to the current crop as Sounds of Blackness next or second generation, because many of them are. I mean, I know Jamesia.
Of course
Jamesia, she of course is Ann and Nesby's daughter.
Yeah.
And there's so many. Brandon Commodore, who great drummer, as I know
traveled with him. I love him.
Right. So for years he was our drummer, and of course our original drummer was Bobby Commodore.
Yep.
It goes on. And his sister Ashley, was a member as well before they both went on to go on the road with Stokely. And so, we're blessed with some illustrious alumni as well. A lot of people don't know that when he first moved to Minneapolis from Natchez, Mississippi, the first band that he joined was not Flight Time, but was Sounds of Blackness. I'm talking about Alexander O'Neal.
What? I didn't know that.
Yes, I promise you, he will proudly tell you. Yeah, yeah, man.
That's
I was in Sounds of Blackness. And I never forget his audition. We were auditioning that day. He showed up for audition. Of course, I didn't know who he was, kind of thing. And I can probably count on one hand over all these years of times I've just stopped an audition short. But I stopped his short. It's like, brother, welcome aboard. It's like, I mean,
what a voice.
Clear, right. Oh my God, it's like, we ain't gonna play that much. This is amazing. So yeah, he's an alum. Cynthia Johnson, who people may not know by name, but of Funky Town fame. I know everybody knows that record. She was, will tell you that she was a former Proud Sounds of Blackness member. And so blessed with great alum, and that, in fact, that's another one. Her daughter Anika was in the studio with us last night.
Really?
Over at Creation. Yeah. So
that's right. I've run into you at my studio. That's fantastic.
I know. Like I say, this could be like 2 or 3 series that you and I, just talk about all this stuff.
I know.
Great alumni and second generation.
Talk about how you connected with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and how that changed the trajectory of the Sounds of Blackness.
Yes. Well, as with your and my family, the Hines family and the Harris family and the Lewis family literally go back to the 70s. Again, a parental connection first and foremost. Jimmy Jam's mom, Mama Jam, rest her soul, such a wonderful woman. She taught piano pedagogy, a piano teacher. And of course, his dad, Cornbread Harris, who I know and I'm sure have worked with.
Just did a record with him literally a month ago.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. So, and they, both knew and worked with my mom, kind of thing. This is before anybody was anybody, that they are now, kind of thing. So there was that familial tie in between families, between parents, and in the community, way before any of this other, public stuff happened, with Flight Time and so on and so forth. But early on, the second part of the answer would be this, Maestro, and that is, show you how things come full circle. It was 1988, and we got a call. I got a call from Terry Lewis. But before that, back in the 70s, we would appear on the same shows. It would be, Prince. It would be the Flight Time Band. It would be Morris. All of those, doing things like the Miss Black Minnesota pageant or the Northside Festival, and we'd be backstage. So we knew each other and heard each other's music for years. And 1988, Alexander O'Neal is doing what I think is actually, and not because we're on it, if not his greatest, one of his greatest records, his Christmas album called My Gift to You. And Terry called us in to do background vocals on it. And so we had come full circle already. Here we are singing background vocals on of the album of a former member.
Right.
And the session, it went so well that they said, man, you guys got time to do another one? Say, yes. So we did another right there. That same. This is on 42nd and Nicollet.
Sure,
43rd.
I know that studio.
The original. Right.
Second studio. The first one was Creation on Old Shakopee Road. Okay.
Yes, my correction, and thank that's a good that's a legit correction. So thank you. And so yeah. So this is before Edina glory and that kind of thing. But so we did the second song, and I'll never forget. The group had left, and I was on my way out the door, and Terry hollered out to me, said, "Doc." Him and Jammin always call me Doctor. They were Doc. And say, "Doc, what label are you guys on? We got to do the paperwork." And I said, "We ain't on no label, He said, "Oh, really?" He said, "I'm gonna call you next week," and the rest is history.
Is that right? They signed you.
Yes. Yeah.
Did they write a lot of those songs with you, or were those Jam and Lewis complete songs that they wrote for you?
The one that we wrote together was and is Optimistic.
Big song, man.
Oh, bless you, brother. But many of the ones that were the other big singles and hits kind of thing were Jam and Lewis production.
Got it. That must have been a fascinating time with those guys. Like you
Oh
said,
my
full circle.
God. Yeah. Oh yeah. Just amazing. And it's funny because speaking of full circle, it's such a blessing that a few things that were extraordinary with. I'll try to condense this. I just spoke with Terry yesterday, like at length. In fact, right when we were all on pins and needles, waiting for the verdict and all that kind of thing. He were, and how busy he is. We were on the phone probably a half hour, which actually surprised me. But he was like Prince in that you could tell if somebody really knew him or didn't know him, because the people that don't know Prince would say, "Oh, he's quiet. He doesn't talk much." It's like, really?
Yeah.
When he would call at 2 or 3 in the morning, he would talk for like hours, And Terry Lewis is the same way. He may be quiet in public, but when he's got something to say, he's got a lot to say. So we were talking yesterday, and just about everything that was happening and all that kind of thing. And we floated back to our original days and all that kind of thing. And Jam and Lewis told us when they first signed us, which is, I know the exact parallel opposite of what artists are usually told when they're signed to a major label. They said, "Doc, don't change. We want to present Sounds of Blackness to the world just the way you are." The industry is notorious for wanting to do that and bring an artist on and change up everything, your look, your sound, and make you sound like whoever the flavor of the day is. But they didn't do that, and to their credit. And so we maintained a relationship with them. We performed with them, a couple of years ago now, but the Super Bowl was here and all that kind of thing.
Right.
And so the relationship is on. The relationship preceded all of the fame and will go beyond, whatever fame and notoriety is we've been blessed with.
That sounds like family to me.
Family affair. Come on now.
That's what that sounds
like you and me, family. Yeah.
Before we move on, I want to just say congratulations on the Grammy Awards, the Stellar Awards, the Emmy nomination, the International Time for Peace Award, the NAACP Award. That must be nice to be recognized.
You know what it is, brother? We used to say back in the day, you can't fake the funk, so I'm gonna keep it 100 and say yes, we cherish those awards, but let me qualify it with one quick thing. In my kitchen, just a few feet away from me, is a note from a young Caucasian lady in the UK in London, who I'll never forget this. This happened several years ago. It's a handwritten note. We were at the end of a concert. I think we were at either the Palladium or Royal Albert Hall, one of them kind of thing, big concert, packed. And we could see we're doing our last number, grand finale kind of thing. And I could see in this crowd, I'm still at my keyboard, I could see this kind of diminutive young lady, just fighting her way for the crowd. She had her hand over her head waving, something. And I was like, okay. So she fought her way, long story short, past all the big burly security guards on that, and made her way up to the stage to my piano kind of thing, and handed me this note that's sitting in my kitchen. And it says, when my mother died, optimistic saved my life. Oh. And so what that has to do with the Grammys and all of that, the reason I bring that up, Maestro, is because the Grammys and all that, we treasure them. We'd be lying if we said we didn't. We would never say that. But really, when people make expressions like that, that's nothing, like the beer commercial says, doesn't get any better than this.
Music is a healer, and you've been healing for over 50 years. By
the grace of God, yes, sir, brother.
It's true. Okay, I'm switching gears on you one last time, and then I'm going to let you go. This podcast is called Music on the Run. What that means is I want to talk to you about health. I always talk to my artists about what keeps them going, what keeps them healthy. How do you stay healthy mentally, physically on the road? How do you keep your relationships together? So Gary, you've been in shape since the minute I laid eyes on you, man. How do you take care of yourself? Give me a day in the life of Gary on the road.
Well, not that different from Gary, here in the apartment, in the hood kind of thing. And just to get up, first thing always starts with prayer. And then, of course, wash up and all that kind of thing. And then right into usually some cardio before I do my weights kind of thing. And sometimes I'll pray while I'm doing my cardio.
Sure.
Just kind of a meditative thing, kind of. So I remind everyone that I come in contact with that more than the reality is that more than being human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Whoa.
And so, so you got to nourish that spirit and acknowledge that, whether or not you're even a person of faith, and you don't pray and, I'm still cool with you, but you still got to get that inner center, that spirit, whether it's meditation or positive thoughts, whatever you want to put on it and whatever your faith tradition is. So my answer to your question, Maestro, is to first get in tune and in touch with that every day. For you and I as believers, we do what we do, and in Jesus' name, but whoever you are, just to get in touch with that spiritual center, and then follow that. I always say perseverance is followed by preparation and perspiration. Then you got to sweat. I believe I tell my singers all the time. And sometimes, especially my female singers, don't appreciate it as much. But I tell them that singing is a sport. A lot of people think of singing as something kind of dainty, this is sweaty, gritty stuff, using the whole body, in the phonation and the sound making process. I sound like I'm in one of my seminars now, but I remind them that singing is a sport. And so the better condition you are in, the better you'll be able to do what it is you want to do, singer and musicians. And the final piece of it is, Maestro, I encourage them. Now, I'm a gym rat. I always have been. I was there this morning by the grace of God. But no, it's not about that. Exercise physiologists, especially these days, encourage people to do whatever they did as a child because your body doesn't associate that with work. So if you skated, skate. If you biked, bike. If you swam, swim. It's not about joining a gym necessarily at all. If you walk or skip, people look at you funny. People gonna look at you funny anyway. You might as well be getting some exercise. So connecting the fact that spirit, mind, and body are one. Rehearsing, practicing your craft every day, scales, work about it, but also being in condition to do that by any means that you choose.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You have looked like you could pick me up with one hand like this since I've known you, my friend.
It's just the shirt. It's just the shirt.
Yeah. No, it's the guy in the shirt. So tell me what's next for you, Gary. What's up? You said you have a new single coming out.
Yeah, and in fact, the answer is yes, and actually more than one. We're going to one of the things that in talking to Terry Lewis yesterday, he reiterated something that some of your followers may not know, but I know that these days the industry is singles driven and not album driven at all. And so he commended Sounds for releasing our singles as we have been doing almost annually now for the past few years. And he was saying simultaneity is good. And so Jamesia, and again, we just put I think the last vocals on it, some of the last vocals last night, has a great song called You're Gonna Win. And we were just at your studio last night, not even 24 hours, putting those vocals on. And so we're looking to simultaneously release You're Gonna Win and keep that positive, inspirational thing. It's as positive as the title sounds, kind of thing, upbeat on that kind of thing. And on the more serious side, I've got one that we may even just do online and more of as a novelty and just as a cause and for commercials. It's called Time for Reparation. And it's in a minor and it's heavy. It's got a funk to it and all that kind of thing. But it's not the upbeat track that You're Gonna Win. And then our own Carrie Harrington. If you don't know Carrie, I know you would recognize her when you see her because she's one of our veteran members. Has got another great one called Hold Up Your Light, as the title implies, in a major and upbeat and just a great track as well. So we're looking to get all three of those out there this summer. Really, it's summer into fall.
Do you have some shows coming up as well, I hope?
We do. As a matter of fact, we want to invite everyone. Let me get this day right. I pray that this is the correct day. I believe it is June 9th, Wayzata Community Church. They have their summer series of music, outdoor worship. And everybody, don't let the word worship throw you. For followers, come on out It's free. They have ice cream. People are on the lawn in shorts and tees and tank tops. It's that kind of laying out on the grass, clapping to the music, all that kind of thing. Yeah, yes, NYZ. Yeah. And they do a brief word. I mean, like a mini sermon or sermonette, whatever you kind of call. But it's a really fun time. People bring a lot of dogs and cats. People bring their pets. So it's really more of a music picnic, for the community. And I'm pretty sure that's June 9th. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but
we can look on your website though, right?
Yes, soundsofblackness.org. And it's there. And you also can purchase a Sick and Tired T-shirt, and a portion of that goes to the George Floyd Scholarship Foundation and Fannie Lou Hamer Foundation. So you can get the correct date there. And of course, we're looking down the road in December to do a Christmas performance, with you guys. So, but there'll be more than that in between. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Before June 9th, because this is what Terry called about. Okay, God,
it's all good.
Please forgive me. I ignore that man behind the curtain, as they said in the Wizard of Oz.
You're not alone. I just want to let you know that.
Yeah, what he called for. Speaking of the George Floyd Foundation, thank you, Lord. That was because it would have been bad to miss this. There will be a 1-year anniversary concert at George Floyd Square, 38th in Chicago, which is a Tuesday. That late afternoon, early evening. I think it's going to start like 4 or 5 o'clock. They're going to set up a sound stage, and this is obviously in commemoration of the 1-year anniversary of losing Brother Floyd. Right there, going to have it right at George Floyd Square. They're bringing in artists, Common, and Sounds are going to do it as well. And I believe there's going to be other artists as well. But that's the next major one. I'm sure it's going to be a free event, just in the street for everybody. And now can have a much more positive tone to it, of course.
Yes, of course.
Right.
Gary, you're a leader. You're a brother to the Peterson family. We adored your mother. Yeah. She was the queen.
And she loved you.
We had 2 queens, didn't we?
Two
That's
royalty,
right.
brother.
I'm telling you. Weren't we lucky to have those ladies in our life?
Yeah. Oh, my God. I mean, there's no words. I mean, both of them internationally renowned and acclaimed. I mean, beyond nationally and locally, internationally renowned and acclaimed, not only in the public's eye, but in the industry. Just having that esteem is just, they both, just in the words of Maya Angelou, phenomenal women.
Yes. And we have good genes because of that.
We got great genes before
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, we do, brother. Yeah, we do.
Gary, thank you so much for spending an hour with us. It's been, this is a great way for us to start our new hang, and I'm coming for you.
Brother, I know we shouldn't have to find ourselves.
Well, we have to get. It's like musicians.
Pacific Ocean.
I know musicians have to do this. We get busy and we have to set up a gig in order to hang. That's just what it is. It isn't anything more than that.
Yeah, the restaurants
much love
open
to you,
now.
and thank you for. I'm talking over you.
Brother.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say we got to at least grab breakfast or something kind of thing sooner than later for sure.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Hines. You guys, that's it for this episode 37 of Music on the Run. Whew, I couldn't have picked a more perfect guest than Mr. Gary Hines. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Music on the Run was hosted by yours truly, St. Paul Peterson. Edited and produced by my buddy Davide Raso. Artist relations by Owen Sartori. Video editing by Tanner Montague. And a very special thanks to the people who financially support this podcast. And remember, racism isn't increasing, it's just being filmed.